Okay. Before we get started on this, though, I just want to let you know we're gonna have this slideshow, and I'm going to try to get through it in less than an hour. I had to cut out massive chunks of it to make it less than an hour. And when we get through this, I'm going to take you guys on a guided journey. And the guided journey is going to be interesting because I've got I asked for some guidance on what to do with this, and I was given like the structure of it, but the details are going to be new to me as well. Archangel Michael tends to like to get very involved with this stuff. So the guided journey is going to be interesting for all of us. And I guess we'll do questions after. Does that sound good, Holly?
Pardon me?
We'll do questions and comments after the guided journey.
However you want to do it.
Okay. All right. So a little background. In 2008, I decided that I needed to better understand what angels were because they kept showing up in my client sessions for my clients, as well as in the work that I was doing. There's these angelic beings that kept showing up, and I was very unfamiliar with them. I really didn't understand who and what they were, but they kept occurring. They kept coming back. And there's an old Hungarian folk saying that if one man calls you a horse, he's crazy. If a second man calls you a horse, worry. And if a third man calls you a horse, go out and buy a saddle. So they kept coming back and coming back. I thought, okay, this is something I need to pay attention to. So I began a process of research to understand them so that I could share that information with my clients and my students. I asked questions like, what are angels? Where do they come from? Most importantly, how do they help me and how do they heal me? And I initially sat down and sent out an email to everybody that I knew. And I asked them, if you're going to take a class on angels, what would you like to learn from that? I even asked people that would never take a class on angels, but if you were, what do you want to learn? And those were the primary questions that they sent back. So that was where I started. Are they real? No, I don't want to do that. Anyway, I don't know how to go back. We're going to go back. Sorry. Okay. So I sat down and I began to just write information as it came to me, addressing those questions. So some of the things that I found out, I'm going to share with you. I found out through connecting with my guides and angels. I found out who my angels were. I found out through doing research online, reading books, talking to people, and I'm going to share with you the basics of what I found out. I do have a set of notes which has more information in it, including a little more history on the angels around the world, and also addressing what are fallen angels and demons. I didn't include that in this talk, but it's in the notes. If you're interested, you can write your email address in the chat, and I will send them out to everybody. All right, so some of the things I found out, as far back in human history as we can go, in every culture throughout human history, there are references to these beings. I kind of boiled down all the different definitions to three primary elements. They're non-corporeal, they're human-friendly, and they have a connection to the source, to the divine. In world history, archaeologists have unearthed images of these guardians, these divine beings, as far back as we can go. Winged messengers from the heavens are mentioned in, for example, the Rig Veda, which is 5,000-year-old sacred texts and poetry from India. So there's references as far back as we have written records. There's references to these human-friendly individuals, beings. We call them different things, different places, but they all have the same basic concept, which is as I said, human-friendly, non-physical, and connected to the divine. This is just an image from India, circa 332, 232 before Christian era. This is the imagery that they would use. This is another one. In India, they refer to them as divas, which were minor deities, but they were all of the three. They were very helpful to humans, and they were non-physical. Okay. While there are many names and purposes, the common thread is service, divine and spiritual aid and guidance, and protection. In many of the cultures and religions I explored, it was the angels who look after other life forms on Earth and the earthly realms in the cosmos in one term or another. So just a little bit of academic here. The study of angels is angelology, which is one of the more important categories of theology in many of the world's belief systems. The ancient Greek word is the word that we use, angelos, which means messenger. The Persian term angaros means courier. And in Hebrew and Persian, the word for messenger and angel is, I'm going to pronounce this terrible, malach or malachim. So the basic idea is messenger from God or the divine. While it's impossible to determine the very first time humans became aware of these divine beings or define the existence of these spirits, these beings have been as part of the belief systems of human cultures for as far back as we can go in terms of documented historical writings. So if they've been around as far back as our historical records go, they've been around longer than that. We've been aware of them. So they're ancient. They go back as far back as human civilization, essentially. They don't belong to any one belief system. They don't belong to any one culture or any one period of time. The ancient Assyrians and the Babylonians had angels. They were more considered guardian angels. And what's interesting is if we were good, they stayed with us. But if we were not good, they might temporarily leave us until we got back on track. And I'm trying to wonder, how bad would you have to be for your guardian angel to bail on you? I mean, think about that. That'd be pretty terrible. But this is the imagery, always with the wings. They've always got the wings, and these individuals happen to be always male and with these huge beards. But those are Assyrian angels. This is an image. This is the, I don't know if you can see my pointer. The little dude, you see him, see it. There's a little dude at the top, and this is an enlargement of it. You see my pointer? No, you can't, sorry. The tiny figure at the top of the tomb is an angelic guardian. And again, he's got the wings, he's got the beard. Archaeologists believe this figure is the prototype of angelic imagery, but I'm not convinced because we don't know what earlier angel imagery was. We just know what the ones that were left behind. In ancient Greek mythology and Roman mythology, they were called different things, but it was the same idea. Greek, they were called daemons, which is just divine being. They could be male or female, and they were protectors and guardians and guides. And that's an image of one. This is another image. They could be animals, they could be humans. They could also have house guardians or house daemons. And again, they could be angered by their human that they're guarding and leave them. So I guess you have to be really on your very aware that if you did enough horrible things that you would lose your guardian. I don't know how bad you'd have to be, but anyway. In Roman mythology, they were called genie or genus, and they were the same as the Greek daemons. They were divine spirits who protected, who guided, who looked after us. That's another image. This is a winged house guardian with some animal assistance. Could be on a garden or in a house. So this is the imagery. And these are actually from Mexico, pre-European Mexico. So, you know, they're everywhere. The idea that there are these individuals who are looking after us, who guard, who protect, who guide. And they always have wings, which I find interesting unless you think about it. These angelic beings were not limited by gravity. And humans are always personifying whatever. So in the human consciousness, the only things that we know about that can defy gravity are birds who have wings. So clearly we're going to give our angelic beings wings. From what I understand, they think that's very amusing because they don't really need wings. Just we give them wings. In ancient Judaism and Zoroastrianism, which is ancient Persia, they were heavenly beings created by God to serve. They were not endowed with free will. Judaic angelology recognized angels as intermediary or negotiators and intercessory, someone who intercedes or speaks on behalf of the petitioner. So they were the ones that connected humans to God to do whatever work that they need to do. They could punish, they protect, they guide, and assist. Guardian angels were with everybody from birth to death, and they hung around. The Judaism and the Zoroastrianism didn't say that they could leave us if we pissed them off enough, but I'm hoping that we're over that. In Islam, they are messengers of Allah. The Quran speaks of angels assuming various powers and forms, and they have power over their own acts. So they're a little bit more independent than the Judaic angelology says. But they also include the idea of guardian angels. And these are just some fun images. These are angels of the Islamic tradition. The picture that's framed is Muhammad with the angels. And the other one on the other side are just Ramadan angels, which is a specific holiday where the angels would come and check on everybody. And that's, very, very colorful, very primary colors, still with wings. Okay. The Catholic Church, which started as a very minor organization, but then, as we know, developed into a much more powerful one, considered them to be servants of God and second to Christ. They had no will of their own and were guardians and protectors, punishers, and teachers. The later years of the Catholic Church, the church fathers saw that people were paying too much attention to the angels and not enough to the faith. So they discouraged and said that the angels were more of a background chorus to the teachings of Jesus because the angels were getting too much attention. So they pushed him in the background. The Protestants saw them as even less than that. The Protestant Reformation in 1517 dramatically changed Christian angelology. And the Protestants at first accepted the existence of angels as helpers and messengers, but that was all. Gradually, they just were referred to as so much Catholic babble, and they weren't real. So that the Protestant faith kind of gradually wiped them out completely. So what have we learned so far? Angelic beings are found in just about every belief system around the world. They appear different in different cultures and times. They are almost always have wings, not always have beards, but they always have wings. But however they're depicted, they're always spiritually based, human friendly, and they help connect us to our own divine spark. They are guides, guardians, teachers, and sometimes even healers. Oops, I went too far. Sorry about that. Doop. Nope. I'm sorry. I'm being spazzy. By the early 18th century, the interest in angels had decreased dramatically. People were more focused on science to explain the world around them. That was the age of enlightenment. And by the mid-20th century, angels were considered out of date, more of an anachronism, kind of really not real at all. But that changed. And this is an interesting story I found. I really like it. Between World War I and World War II, angelic encounters became more numerous. And gradually that increased and increased. And then we see books, stories, movies, and classes like mine, on communicating with angels, and they're all over the country. So that interest increased, the interest in learning more about angels. But there's one particular story that I think sparked off a lot of this. I'd never heard of this until I was doing my research. It's called the Angels of Mons. The Battle of Mons took place in World War I. This is supposed to be one, not two, forgive me. Where Mons is in Belgium, it's a town in Belgium, and the British and French troops fell into retreat from the Germans. And then something odd happened, and it's reported soldiers from both sides, from the French and English and the German side, experienced this. So I find that intriguing. French soldiers thought they saw Archangel Michael, while the British claimed it was St. George, because that's who their favorites were. But what they both said they saw was a tall, blonde man in golden armor who calmed, because the retreat was very messy. There were wounded that were being left, that had to be left behind because they couldn't carry them, and the Germans were bearing down on them, so they had to retreat very, very quickly. And there was just hysteria all over the place. And this individual walked among them and enabled them to stay calm, and enabled them to deal with their wounds and be less hysterical. The German soldiers claimed they were unable to advance on the French and British because their horses turned and bolted away. This is just some of the depictions that the German advance was halted, and that gave the French and the English time to gather their wounded, to collect themselves, and get out of the way of harm. I just find that an interesting story. And it's called the Angel of Mons, because that's where it took place. So that's just one of the fun stories I found out in this whole angel exploration. Today, angels are everywhere and more human-friendly than ever. We see images of angels wherever we go. We see them on books, we see them in paintings, we see them on catwalks, we see them in tattoos, we see them in TV shows. Ever watch Doctor Who? These are the evil angels. We see movies. These are all three great movies, by the way. They're everywhere. The concept of angels doing all kinds of unusual things. They become more popular than ever, and they become more less denominational and more global, I think. They are messengers. They can be, excuse me, in some texts, angels believed to be the hand of God, rewarding and punishing as needed. Okay. They are healers, and they can be teachers. They have been portrayed as powerful warriors, as guardians to serve and protect. So what does all this tell us today? The word comes, angels, from messenger. Even today, they're seen as messengers. One of the defining traits of an angel is that they have always been non-corporeal, non-physical. Their energy frequency is so much higher than our physical plane where we exist. How can they heal us who reside in this very physical existence? When I asked that question of my angels and guides, I was told that what they actually do is when they come into our presence, when we allow them to come near us, their higher energy frequency touches us, and that reminds us of what we really are and how we can heal ourselves. So the answer is they don't heal us. They just help us heal ourselves, because we are that powerful. We just have to be reminded of it. When I asked that question, I was very surprised because it's not what I expected, but that's what they gave me. Am I doing time-wise? Okay. How do they see, support, and teach us? They guide us to see and experience what we need in order to understand within ourselves how we move along our path of growth towards awakening. one of the things that I learned that I share in my classes is that when we ask the angels to help us, they will help us. They have to have permission because of the first universal principle, which is free will. When we give them permission to help us, they will help us. But they help us for our greatest and highest good. And that means they don't always give us what we want. They give us what we need, which can sometimes be very different. And I had one student contact me after class, and he said, you told me the angel would help me, and I believed you, but you were wrong. And I went, okay, how was I wrong? What happened? And he said, well, I asked the angels to help me, but I got arrested. And I said, well, why did you get arrested? For shoplifting. So after that, I kind of assumed he was a little more clear on the concept. They will give us what we need, not necessarily what we want. They also will use other humans as an extension of their support and help. So for example, and I had this happen to me, but I've had other people say the same thing, that they're in a situation where they need assistance right away, and someone shows up out of the blue, gives them a hand, and then disappears. And the person that helps them is physical, but they come out of the blue and then they just disappear. And my own experience with that was, I was in a car, I was driving, and I was going up a slight hill, and it was the middle of 4:30 rush hour traffic. I was in the middle lane of a 3-lane area, and my car died. It just died. It wouldn't go anywhere. And I was that car that blocked all that traffic. And I couldn't even get out of the car because there was traffic on either side of me. So I sat there, and it was in August, and I had the windows rolled up because I had air conditioning on, and the engine had died. So I had no air conditioning and I couldn't lower the windows. So I was kind of in a big pickle. I had called for help. It would take 45 minutes for AAA to get where I was. And then all of a sudden, and I'm sitting there just thinking, oh, this is going to be bad. 45 minutes, my car is going to be 120 degrees. What am I going to do? And just as I was trying to figure out if I could dash through traffic to get to the other side, someone knocked on the window of my car. And I looked, and there were these 2 young men standing. Now, like I said, I'm in the middle lane. They're standing on the driver's side with all this traffic. They're standing there, and they go, would you like us to push your car? And I said, yes, please. So they pushed my car up the hill, across traffic, and into a parking lot. This was a very busy area. There were no shops, no stores, no homes, no nothing. It was just roads. So where did they come from? No clue. They got me to where I was safe. I got out of my car, and I said, can I pay you for your assistance? And they thought that was terribly funny. And then they just walked away. And I watched them to make sure, where are they going to go? Because there was no place they could walk to. There weren't even sidewalks. And they just walked into the distance. I consider that to be angelic assistance. And I've had lots of people share these kinds of stories. Out of the blue, someone shows up, they provide the assistance that we need, and they disappear. Because our guardian angels, once we allow them to help us, they will help us. In their true form, they are beings of light, pure, divine light energy. The same as we are, just at a higher frequency. We see them all over the place now. Images in ancient graves, on ancient coins, paintings, art in every form. I just went through that one. Throughout history, human mind has needed some type of structure or form to grasp the concept of these divine beings. So we give them physical form that we can relate to. Like I said before, we give them wings because obviously that's the only reason they can fly. And we give them names. They're fine with that. They'll take whatever names we give them as long as we communicate with them. We give them job descriptions. We give them personalities. Everything that we create to make these as much like ourselves as possible so that we can accept them. But understand their true form is light. So I want to talk a little bit about the archangels because they're the ones we're going to visit with tonight. The archangels are devoted to looking after Earth and mankind. According to the Catholic angelic hierarchy, they are the highest ranking angels to have direct contact with Earth and humanity. The most well-known are Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel. They're the ones that are mentioned in one form or another in the more well-known sacred texts today. Michael and Gabriel appear in all the sacred texts of the Judeo-Christian belief systems. And Raphael is a figure in one of the stories in the Hebrew texts. They are here. They mention the Christian Bible, they mention the Hebrew Bible, and then the Quran. Raphael is known from the story of Tobias in the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament. Michael is traditionally more of the warrior. He sometimes wears a gold breastplate. He sometimes has a helmet. He'll have a spear or a sword. Sometimes you'll see him carrying a scale where you weigh things, because he weighs human lives, supposedly. His name means most like God. His traits are courage, protection, to help release fears, unconditional love, and he especially loves to work with children. Very fond of working with children. Raphael is the healer angel. In the story of Tobias, Tobias was a young man who was going to his wedding, and the bride had been married 7 times, and each bridegroom died on the wedding night, which is probably a little scary. And so this young man is going to be husband number 8, and knowing full well that his predecessors were all killed. And this unnamed traveler shows up. He has a cloak and the traveling staff, and he shows Tobias how to cure his bride of the curse, because she was cursed by a demon, which is why all her husbands died. He showed him how to heal her of the curse, which is how he became known as the healer. He heals relationships, he heals countries, he promotes science and knowledge, and he protects travelers. Gabriel is the only one that also has a female counterpart, Gabriella or Gabrielle. Gabriel is the angel who came to Mary and announced the conception of the Son of God. He's the one who came to Elizabeth and told her she was pregnant with John. And she's also the one who came to, oh God, I can't remember the name. He was a priest and told him that his wife was going to give birth. So Gabriel, as Gabrielle, is the angel of communication and of conception and childbirth. So you will see Gabriel or Gabrielle with the lily, which is a symbol of the Holy Spirit, as well as a white dove, which is a symbol of the Holy Spirit. One of my favorite stories about Gabriel is that he gave Muhammad the instructions for writing the Quran. He dictated the Quran and Muhammad wrote it. It took 3 days and 3 nights. So in order for him to be kept awake the whole time, he gave him coffee. This is how we get coffee. So thank you for that. So this is him dictating as he writes. And William Blake, a British artist, a poet and mystic from the 1700s to 1800s, had a special relationship with Gabriel according to his journals. Now, he wrote it down, so we're going to take his word for it. Gabriel told Zacharias of Elizabeth's pregnant with John. So this is the painting that William Blake was commissioned to make. And according to the story from his journal, he had difficulty getting the angel's face. And in frustration, he cried out, "Who knows how to paint an angel's face?" And this great booming voice comes out. Michelangelo did. And he said, "Well, who are you? How do you know?" He goes, "Because I modeled for him. I'm the Archangel Gabriel." So as the story goes, Blake challenged him, "How do I know you're not just a demon?" and he performed some feats of amazingness that convinced him that it was a powerful angel. So that's the story. Gabriel is also the one who told the shepherds of the birth of Christ and led them. So he's always a little angel in our nativity scenes. This is one that is less known, but also part of the collection is Uriel. And he is most often the more mature. He's depicted as stern and solemn. And he also is the only one that's ever depicted with a beard, or at least a 5 o'clock shadow. His name means God is my light or fire. And he's often seen with a flame in his palm, or he's holding a book. He works with knowledge, wisdom, and forgiveness, and he helps us learn from our mistakes and helps us deal with the consequences of our mistakes. So this is an image of him with fire in his palm. Okay, I'm getting there. And this is another one. It's a stained glass image. There he is with the book. This is one of my favorite of them. This is in St. John's Church in Wiltshire, England. Okay. Now, we cannot have a conversation about angels without Satan, fallen angels, and demons coming into it, but we're not going to do that tonight. That's just a whole other conversation. It's in the notes. I took it out. So, kind of putting this all together, the most common message from all the angelic encounters that the angels are here now to remind us in this time of materialism and power struggles and conflict and imbalance, to remind us what we really are, to remind us of our own divinity. That's because it's so easy to forget that living here on earth. It's so hard to be here that we often get overwhelmed and we forget what we really are. And so their job is to remind us that while we experience our humanity daily, the highs and the lows, the sorrow, the grief, the fear, as well as the joy and love and light, there is the promise that we are not alone, that we are always beloved, and that each of us has a birthright to our own divinity. That's what they really want us to know, that they're always with us. We're not alone. Help is as close as our next breath. We just have to ask. Good. All right. That's that. Okay. So that actually didn't take nearly as long as I thought it would. So maybe 1 or 2 questions and then we'll go on to the meditation, or should we just do the meditation straight up? Meditation straight up? Okay. All right. Like I said, this is going to be interesting. So we're going to do a guided meditation, a guided journey now. Hopefully it won't be more than 15 or 20 minutes. I don't think. So get yourself all comfy. I mean, you guys all work with hypnosis and meditation and guided journeys all the time. So you pretty much know what I'm going to do. At least the basics of what I'm going to do. So get yourselves comfortable. Close your eyes when you're ready. It's way more fun if you close your eyes and you're not distracted by all this stuff. And we're going to start with breathing. So at your own pace, take 3 slow, deep breaths. Really go breathe down to your belly button, gentle and slow. And as you exhale, just get your shoulders to relax. Let yourself go into your own natural level of relaxation for a journey like this. And after your 3rd deep breath, return to your normal breathing and breathe in a way that is comfortable and natural and easy. Just breathe. As you all know, we spend a lot of time in our heads. thinking, processing, analyzing, or just trying to understand. But the true source of our being is actually in the heart. Your heart is a powerful and beautiful part of who you are. And every moment of every day, your heart does its work for you to the best of its ability. Without any input or effort on your part whatsoever, your heart is always there for you. Your heartbeat, a sign of life, a very necessary sign of life, is a very soft, fluttery pulse somewhere in the middle of your chest. Take a moment and see if you can find it. If we're very, very still, we can feel that soft, fluttery pulse somewhere in the middle of the chest. There, that place, the place where you can feel your heart doing its work, or where you imagine it might be, that is your center, your heart center, the core of your being. We're going to breathe ourselves down into that heart center using your breath. But I will also give you a visual to help you. I'm going to ask you to use your very creative mind and your very powerful imagination and imagine that you're at the top of a stairway that goes down. It's a spiral stairway. It's a lovely, gentle spiral staircase that goes down. And there's a banister to hold on to if you need it. And if you like, it can be a spiral escalator that travels downward. As we breathe ourselves down into that heartbeat, going down the spiral staircase, taking us down to the very bottom. And when you get to the bottom of your spiral staircase, you are in your heart center. You are surrounded by the energy of your heart, of your heart, of your heart chakra. Be in that energy. Feel it surround you. That love, that joy and delight. Feel it surround you. Breathe it in. And as you do so, you create a protection around yourself here in your heart energy. You are surrounded by the divine light of your heart center. You can imagine this beautiful sphere of light energy gently flowing around you. It could be clear white light. It could be lovely soft green light energy. It could be whatever color you want it to be. I'm very fond of white light energy myself. Surround yourself with that beautiful light energy. And now you become aware that that light energy is actually coming from above you. It is flowing down from the universe into your heart energy, strengthening your connection. This beautiful beam of white light energy flowing down through all the chakras to where you are and surrounding you and protecting you. Feel the peace. Feel the love all around you. Now that we are secure in our heart center, we're going to go back up that spiral stairway. Imagine that you are walking up the stairs, or perhaps it's a spiral escalator that just takes you up gently. And you notice that the light changes softly the higher we go. We're going up higher. It's taking us up higher along the stairway. And the colors change from that lovely soft green to a very gentle shade of blue as we go higher, taking us higher. We go through a lovely violet shade of light, taking us even higher until we find ourselves in this beautiful, brilliant white light energy. And there the stairs stop and we step off. We're in this beautiful white light energy. And you take a moment and look around and be in this light and feel that energy all around you. Now you become aware that there is someone there with you. You become very aware of a divine presence. We've invited the archangels to be part of this journey, and they have given us the structure of this journey. One of the archangels is with you there now. It may be a familiar individual, it may be a new presence, someone that you are now going to get to know. Take a few moments now and introduce yourself to your companion and invite them to introduce themselves to you. Now, if you have something in your heart, a question or a problem that you need some assistance or guidance with, or a request for information or guidance, share that with your companion now. Listen carefully to what you are shown and given. They may speak in words, they may speak in imagery, they may take you somewhere to show you something. However you experience the information they share with you, pay close attention. I will give you a few minutes of quiet so you can journey and talk to your companion, and I will let you know when it is time to return. It is very nearly time to return. But before we do, before we climb back onto our spiral staircase to come back, your companion has a gift for you, a gift to share with you, to help you as you move towards your own awakening. Accept the gift into your heart with gratitude. And if you like, you can ask your companion to be more present in your daily life, to make their presence more known to you. They are more than happy to comply. So now it is time to prepare to return to your physical body, your conscious mind, remembering everything that you experienced on this journey, feeling refreshed, feeling well informed, feeling more connected to your own divine presence. Let's move down the stairway, back down through the colors, down to the heart chakra again, where we started. And be in that energy for just one more moment. It's so rejuvenating. It's so satisfying to be in this loving energy, to just be in your heart. And when you're ready, whenever you're ready, take a nice deep breath and open your eyes, finding yourself all the way back with this wonderful group. Coming back at your own pace. Everybody back? Everybody okay? Okay, floor is open. Questions? Thoughts? Answers?
I found out, excuse me. I found out that what I've been thinking and what my spirit guide was in fact an angel. And I sort of got admonished, like, didn't you get it?
I love it when they do that. They're so cute.
I have kind of a silly question. I started working with my ancestors, giving them gifts and offerings. I wonder if that would be good to do for angels too.
I've known several of the books that I read do talk about setting up what they call an angel altar.
Mhm.
And Richard Webster's books talk about that. There's a reading list in the notes because, I'm a bookaholic. I always add books. But they do talk about how you could set up an altar to communicate, especially if you want one of the archangels to sort of be more present. You want their energy to be more present. Yeah, some people do that.
Oh, which book is that?
It's in the reading list. His name is Richard Webster.
Okay, I'll find it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a couple of good books. I have a very funny story I'll share with you while you're thinking of a question. It has to do with one of my own past lives. It was a past life where she was it was 14th century in Germany, somewhere, southern Germany. And she was the fourth daughter of a very poor baker who drank away most of the money. And so there was no dowry for her. So she was bundled off to a convent, which is what they used to do. But it was fine with her because she didn't want to marry anybody anyway. But she lived a very long life in the convent. She was very happy. She was very well loved. She became educated, very intelligent woman. She lived a lot longer than most women did in those days, because of course there's no childbirth going on there. But on her death, the image of her death is what always sticks with me, because she was this tiny little dried up bird of a woman in this huge bed with curtains and draperies and stuff. And there's a half circle of nuns kneeling and praying and weeping around her bed as she's dying. And she calls them her little sisters. Oddly enough, they were dressed in blue, not black and white. But anyway, but was an outside circle of other beings. And as you know, she takes her last breath, and then she sees these beings, and she realizes that they're angels, this circle of these angelic beings who've come to take her home, but they don't have wings. And she's scolding them. Where are your wings? You're supposed to have wings. Why don't you have your wings? As they're taking her home. They're laughing. They thought it was terribly funny that this tiny little lady was scolding them. But anyway, yeah, wings are very important to us humans, but they really don't need them. But they do have a wonderful sense of humor. I have found that out. So any other questions or stories or whatevers?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any information about orbs and
Orbs.
yes.
Well, I kind of sort of know what they are, but I don't have a whole lot of information. Does somebody else here can address that? Because I really can't intelligently. Holly.
We have a parapsychologist gentleman who's connected to our school who taught some certification courses in parapsychology. And what he understands orbs are psychokinetic expressions of the people taking the pictures, that they are created psychokinetically by the photographer. That's what he thinks through his research.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it's all us anyway, right? Everything's us, so.
Everything's energy, yeah. Related.
I have a quick story if we
Thank you.
have a question.
Okay.
I was in Paris with my son. He was 17, and I lost him, and I didn't know, I don't speak the language. I don't know how it works with the law or anything. And I just didn't know what to do. So I was just praying for him. And he tells a story. He got lost, and he couldn't figure out which direction was where we were staying was at. And this man came out of nowhere wearing a leather jacket and with a boombox playing Jimi Hendrix along the Watchtower, which is something he related to that age. And he spoke English. And he said, do you need any help? He says, I don't know which way. And he showed him which way to went. And then he said he pretty much, like, he swears he's an angel.
Entirely possible.
Yeah.
Sometimes
in my hotel praying.
sometimes they will employ us to serve. So I had a student who shared the story in one of the classes where she was driving home one night and was tired, just really wanted to get home, and for some reason found herself driving into the parking lot of a great big huge department store. And she goes, I don't want to buy anything here. Why am I here? But she felt compelled. She got out of the car. She went in the store, and she was just walking around going, why am I even here? And she notices on an end cap this big bunch of keys, like someone's car keys and stuff. And she goes, well, someone's going to want those. So she picks them up and she takes them to the front desk and hands them and says, give these to the manager. And the manager comes out and he goes, oh my God, I can't believe you found those keys. He pointed to this woman and a little kid sitting over there. And the little kid was crying and the woman looked very distraught. And he goes, we've been looking for her keys for the past hour and a half so she can go home. And my student went, well, here they are. And then she got in her car and went home. So sometimes we allow them to use us to do something to serve someone else. So it could be that man just was employed temporarily by one of the angels.
I think so, because like he spoke English and he like came in a way that my son could relate to, like
Right.
American and the music, and then he said he just kind of like he walked with him for a little while and then he just kind of disappeared.
Gone when he's no longer needed.
Yeah.
I have a story. Once upon a time, I was Catholic, and I
Once
had
upon a time I was Catholic.
a long time ago, and I had my Catholic name was also Teresa. I chose it. I'm not a narcissist, I don't think. It just seemed easy, and I felt connected to her. So I had this little it's almost like a book card, anyway, this laminated little thing for Saint Teresa, and on the other side is this prayer, and the prayer is to help bring things home or to find things. So my sister, and this was like 13 years ago, so my sister was watching my parents' house while they were gone, and one of their cats got out. So they lived in northern Michigan, all of these trees around. It was winter time, so it was very stormy and cold, lots of rain at that point. And by the time my parents got home, my sister was like, oh yeah, by the way, Samson's gone. It's been gone for about 3 days. And my parents looked everywhere for him. And I'm not, okay, I might be a cat lady later in life, we'll see. But I was very upset for poor Samson. So I took this Saint Teresa card, and so the thing is, like, you pray for 3 days straight with this card, once a day for 3 days straight, and the thing will come back. And I was like, what the hell? So this card with such fervor, I prayed, and literally on the 3rd day, my mom called me and Samson came home. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm just saying, it seemed to work, but it was super cool.
It's super cool. Good for Samson.
Good for Samson. He
Yeah.
never went outside again after that.
Learned his lesson. Anybody else have any questions or comments to share?
I do. I did a paper a few years ago. I was working with precognition, and then I left the room for extraordinary occurrences, and I got led into the realm of angels. And what was interesting was that I found the book Chicken Soup for the Soul has hundreds of stories of angelic interference or angelic intervention. But then that led me to another series of books focusing on what's called a third man factor, where a lot of these people who've been out there, let's say like Shackelford was out there, a lot of these other people who've been stranded in the Himalayas and all that, they report the presence of another being that they cannot see, but they feel a sense of comfort and direction for them. And the thing about the Chicken Soup of the Soul books is that many of them were not in response to any kind of asking for angels, but the angels just showed up, as you said, out of the blue. And the ones that I highlighted for my paper were the ones where there was actual physical touching by the angel. And in one case, some guy had fallen off a cliff, all right? He was a mountain climber. Something, quote unquote, invisible caught him, ready? Felt it, put his arms around him and put him safely on a ledge, okay? These are the kind of stories that I would go after because you need evidence, right? I mean, people, a lot of stories, of course, they heard somebody, the booming voice giving them directions, or someone showed up, as you said, out of the blue. But there is evidence of physical touching to save people. So they really do come in to intervene without asking. They do.
I try to write my angels a blank check saying, whenever you think I need help, please step up. Because, sometimes you don't know enough that you need help. They wouldn't buy it. They said, no, you gotta, even on a subconscious level. So I don't know.
I have a quick story of I think angels using people. I have 2 dogs, and my older dog had been having leg problems, neurological problems for quite some time. But she was still going for walks and seemed to enjoy life. But I went for a walk with them, and all of a sudden, blocks from home, she just sat down and literally physically could not get up. So my car was like blocks away, and she couldn't move, so she couldn't walk, so I couldn't leave her to go get my car. And I don't know what came over me. This calm came over me, and I sat down. It was in September, so it was still warm. I sat down And I just said, help, I need help, inwardly. Within a few minutes, this couple drives up in a car, literally rolls down the window and calls out, do you need help? And I said, yes, I can't, my dog can't walk. I need to go get my car, but I can't leave her here alone. So they sat there with my big dog while I took the little dog home, got the car, and then they helped me put the big dog in the car because she was 70 pounds. And I mean, but what was remarkable is my staying calm. I mean, really, that was kind of unusual under the circumstances. And then within minutes of my saying, I need help, they literally asked me, do you need help? And I'm sure they were guided there by angels to help. It was so miraculous, really, and very reinforcing of everything you're saying. So it's just kind of a mundane incident, but very powerful at the same time.
Yep, they're always ready to help.
My father's life was saved in World War II because of an angel. He was in a dugout pit with all the men that he was fighting with. And right in the middle of a battle, he heard his mother's voice calling him. And he followed the voice out of the pit into another area. And as soon as he got there, a hand grenade exploded and all the men died.
But he got out.
He got out. That plagued him his whole life.
I wonder how many of us have had feelings like incidences like that, but we don't listen.
Right.
So it doesn't register. And when we do listen, we get a positive result. Maybe we should start listening more.
Well, he was a non-listener most of his life until he passed. Then he came to me and said, I'm listening now.
I'll listen now. Funny thing, you were right.
That's what he said. I'm listening now.
Yeah.
But he did have this experience that plagued him because he couldn't make sense of it.
He wasn't ready, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Holly, I would think that would make a believer out of someone. That's an intense experience. Or did he have survivor guilt or something? I mean,
maybe that's what it was.
Because you'd think that sounds pretty remarkable that it didn't like prompt his belief in something, but it sounds like it didn't till the end.
Yeah.
You're amazed how easily we can rationalize things if we really want to.
So that's actually a really good question, if you don't mind me asking real quickly. How do we stop ourselves from rationalizing and opening up? I realize everybody says it's so easy, just open up.
Not easy.
It's not exactly, it's not easy. So
No.
is there any recommendations on how best to try to be more
When I teach this class as learning how to communicate with your angels, I tell my students to start by meditating and inviting them to be part of it. But even though children can do this easily, children under the age of 6 or 7, they don't know they're not supposed to. So they talk to their friends all the time. But as adults, we've taught ourselves not to. And now we have to unlearn all that. And that's hard. And it takes some time. But if you start with meditation and just inviting them to be part of it and trying to learn to trust, that's the biggest problem. What comes to you? Like Holly's father, normally he probably wouldn't have trusted anything he heard, and he would have just, second guessed it, but somehow this voice got through and he trusted it and listened to it. And so we have to learn how to be more available to our own inner guidance. And that's where we can start learning to work with them. And we need to start communicating with them on a regular basis, not wait for a crisis. Because if we're in crisis mode, we're not listening. If we're in the hyped up, emotional, intense, oh my God, the world's coming to an end kind of frame of mind, we're not going to hear them. if they don't already have that connection. So you have to start doing it sort of like a regular, just every day, make a little moment for yourself. And then start trusting. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but I can't take the rest of the time with that, but that's a good start.
About 6 years ago, I was introduced to a book called 72 Angels of Magic. I don't know if any of you know it.
I've heard of it.
And I've been doing angel magic for 6 years, where you choose an angel, and there are 72 of them, and they all have their specialties. And you write an intention or affirmation, and then you do a ritual that calls in color and sound by singing to the angels and working with sigils, which are images for each angel, and connect with them. And you connect with them through lightning. You send lightning to the angels, so the electrical connections there. And then you call them through singing their name, and you talk to them through your affirmations. And I have had so many amazing experiences doing this, not only for myself, but for clients and for family members and friends. And I'm incorporating it into my work a lot, because my clients who feel really stuck start to do angel magic, and many of them have amazing openings.
What's it called? 72 Angels?
72 Angels of Magic by Damon Brand. Check it out.
Oh,
It's a way to cultivate trust, because when you do the magic and you get the results, you start to trust. So there's a pragmatic element to it when you
what
do
was the last name?
Brand, B-R-A-N-D. You'll find it on Amazon.
Okay, thank you. So I'm sorry that I went so fast through that there was a lot of information there. I just want to make sure we got it in the hour, and then we had time to do our guided meditation.
We'll have a video of it online, you guys, so you'll get an email letting you know that it's available. And you can always go to our YouTube channel, which is International Board for Regression Therapy. And then we'll have links to it on the website. So one of the things I would like to invite in our meetings is that we bring spirit into our space by acknowledging gratitude, acknowledging each other, acknowledging the work and the path that we're all on. And I'd like to invite somebody who would feel moved to maybe just end with a little prayer or a little affirmation or intention for us. Would anybody like to do that? Feel moved to share that way? No?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Okay, so as we begin this close of this wonderful session, we end in gratitude, knowing that this gratitude opens more and more of our heart center, heart space, radiating to us even greater and greater good. We are thankful for our speaker today and the information brought forward, knowing that we are not alone. We have divine help, ever present, ever immediate. And we pay attention to all the directions about how to make this connection even greater and greater for each one of us on our path, for ourselves and those we serve. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rev.
I know it leaks out, right? You can't help yourself.
Fabulous. I love it.
You want a prayer? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll end on the amen.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Holly, is there a way that you can send me all those? There's a lot of the on the chat, a lot of people who want
Notes for you. Yes, I will do that.
All right, thank you.
Why don't I make it easier? Why don't you just send me the notes and I'll send them
Done.
to everybody.
All right, that's much easier.
Okay. And if you still would like the notes, you didn't request it in the chat, just raise your hand and I'll put you on the list. Anybody? Chris and hi Joan.
Hi.
Chris and Joan. Anybody else? Teresa. Okay.
Putting my info in there right now.
I've got your email, Teresa.
You got me? Okay. Okay. Thank you for.
She doesn't, I do.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.
I'm gonna go.
All right.